Well, we try to use it so that people get used to the idea, the concept. But you're right, we have that problem in French too. It's langage clair et simple. Uh, for one thing, the ISO standard was translated into French, which was wonderful, and it has used langage clair et simple because we see all different ways of referring to plain language in French, and we believe that we should, put forth that terminology and be consistent. But when it doesn't resonate, which happens often, we usually try to add to our langage clair et simple something like so that you're understood at the first reading, or we try to add like a whole sentence to put into context what this means. And even, the name of our company is Autrement dit, which means said otherwise. So sometimes we use that as a way to just, and usually people kind of say, okay, we understand what you're doing or what it means. But unfortunately, plain language is not a thing yet, for many people. So we have to explain and still like have like that, make that 30-second speech. So yeah, finding the right word that will resonate.
What we've really tried to do is create a sense of excitement about it all, because we know that if we send something around in the newsletter saying, this is a style guide, everybody's got to start using this from now. What I was saying was about the engagement. So there's this model, the law of diffusion of innovation, and what the theory is that people's engagement in change follows the normal distribution. So most people don't like change and they don't want things that are going to be different, but there's a tiny little group of people who love it, and they're the people you want to target. So yeah, so we put stuff in the newsletter saying we're trying to do this. It's a pilot. We're not sure what we're doing. We need some volunteers to help us develop it. And that's how you get those people. And then of course they start talking, and then it spreads and you get the ripple effect.
I think the best thing we've done is customize our training to meet the needs of different departments. So we have, a public works department, we have a fire department, a police department, library, planning and development, and they each communicate with different audiences and about different content. And some of them are really much more internally focused, so in their communications. So what we've done is developed town-wide training that hits on the basics of plain language, but then we do interactive workshops with each department. So when we train our fire staff, we focus on incident reports and how to make that easier for them to do, more effective, clearer. So they see the value because that's what they're doing every day. And when they look at the before and after, like Chantale was saying, and then they can see an immediate value in the work that they do, it just becomes practical. That little light bulb goes off. And I think that's been the quickest way to convince people when they see that value in their work through the workshops.
Okay, so there's a lot of theoretical arguments you can make, and people will accept most of them. So we can talk about efficiency, we can talk about better use of resources, and so there's all the arguments that we know. But what I've found is that sometimes those arguments don't really capture people's hearts. So as you know, Nadia, we've talked about this a lot. So we do this sort of interpersonal kind of change agent approach, and that's how the work started. So it was by, first of all, recruiting people who were really excited about this work and wanted to do it. And then what you find is that other departments see what's happened. Senior people can see what's happening in other people's departments, and everyone wants a piece of it. So it's more that sort of emotional persuasiveness, I would say, rather than using logic all the time.
We do hear those kind of objections sometimes. I think we have to go through demonstration. Of course, like Louise said, there are a bunch of theoretical arguments that we can bring about, having informed public and plain language, democracy needing to to have informed people so they can make good decisions and be in charge of their lives. When we are with objections such as dumbing down, what we like to do is to try to go through demonstration, and so sometimes like as simple as a before and after, you know, and see show how even the after is not, you know, oversimplified. So usually it can work. One objection that we get most is that we already do it. All our work is already clear, and we don't really need to do that, right? So I'm sure some of you have heard that too. And when that happens, we like to have to show to bring people to reflect themselves on their own piece, so they can come to realize themselves that perhaps some more work is needed, and that we don't have to kind of criticize or bring about negative comments, but have them really like have bring them to have a different look at their piece, so that they can realize that, you know, it could go further.
We started with a pretty grassroots approach, almost like a pilot. And that was a good way to convince people the value of embarking on a much broader organizational effort. So the pilot was really just finding those people who were already doing good, clear writing, educating ourselves about plain language. And then we created a plain language team and basically said, if you have something that you're working on and you want help, we will help you. And it was very informal, but it created those documents that were very clear before and afters, and they were people who came to us and asked for help, so we weren't forcing it on people. And then they would use their document, they would show it to other people, and then they would come and ask for help. So it became this kind of word of mouth effort, and it was really about 5 of us who were willing to just hop on a call or get together and brainstorm with somebody who wanted to improve something. And that pilot approach, I think, is really useful in the public sector, especially because you can test it out. And then if you get some traction, you have good data and, you know, good argument to say, this is why we ought to do it at a higher level. And you have built-in cheerleaders. So I like that pilot approach. And we've used that at different levels. We piloted the training. You know, we're going to do some more data metrics. So it's something you can adapt to whatever stage you're at.